What the fuck is Self Quar?
Hey everybody, it's Baron Vaughn. How you doing? Welcome back to my voice. I'm actually not even saying that to you. I'm saying that to myself. So yes, I did 2 podcasts and I took a big fat break, and you're probably wondering why, and why. And if you're wondering why, well, I got an easy answer for you. Easy answer. I got an easy answer for you. I don't even know what that means. Easy answer? That's not even a. I have an easy answer for you. The reason is because I'm not well, y'all. Come on, you know what's happening in the world right now. We're all fucking struggling. We're all struggling in some way, and we all have our own unique ways of struggling. And my way demands that I shut the fuck down hardcore. Now, I'm not saying it's the best thing to do. It's just the thing that I do. I'm saying that from a neutral standpoint. By the way, I want to tell you that right now. That's my new favorite word, neutral. If I haven't said that enough, you'll hear me saying it over and over and over again because I like to repeat myself because I'm whipping myself up into a frenzy with the spell of repeating certain lessons, right? So neutrality is the thing that I'm trying to aspire to. And, what I'm trying to feel neutral about these days is the fact that I had a supremely fucked up childhood. Now, that might not be a surprise to you. I have talked about it. I do talk about it. I talk about mental health. I talk about wellness. I talk about self care. All this stuff, mindfulness, mental illness, whatever the hell you want to call it. I'm talking about all this trauma shit. That's great. I have a fantastic intellectual understanding of a lot of different things, but that literally means nothing to the very body that I am living in. I can understand a whole lot. I can intellectualize a lot of things. I understand it. I get it logically, conceptually. But the integration part, being able to apply that to my life, put it in my literal bones, in my musculature, that is the part that I have a really hard time with. And so this childhood is a big part of that. Now, I haven't been really explicit about a lot of the things that happened in my childhood. You know, uh, there was a lot of abuse. And I say that from a perspective of, yeah, I know that people talk about this. There was a lot of abuse. I'm saying that from a very neutral way. Um, because I don't understand still, or I'm barely starting to understand, or how it makes me act, how it makes me feel. I did not, I'm still having a hard time putting those things together, which is part of my trauma, y'all. That's part of the fucked upness. And again, I'm not going to go into too much detail about it, but right at this moment, I am going to go into detail about it because why the fuck not? Because I'm trying to talk more. I'm trying to own these things more. And I actually, hilariously, I'm a private person as much as I fucking talk. But if you haven't noticed, I try to put myself out there in a very ambiguous way, where sometimes I don't want people to actually know what it is that I think about this thing. I'm better at this than I am at like posting, or even like communicating my feelings to someone I love. That's important to me. We'll get into that way more in the future. There's a lot of fucked up shit. And I can't stop talking about it. I can't stop dwelling on it. That's what I'm trying not to do. I'm trying not to dwell on it. I'm trying to just say it out loud. Sit with it, guys. That's the biggest thing that I'm trying to do. Is sit with things really hard because I am fleet-footed. I do not sit still. I realize I will go full days without sitting. And I don't even notice that I'm doing that. But I guess that's anxiety, right? I'm just always moving, always moving. And so, again, I'm starting to understand what it is that these things have done to my body and trying to undo that, you know, with your mind, trying to undo what your body knows to be right and true and real by thinking about it is not necessarily the way. So I'm figuring that out. But I've always been figuring that out. Everything that I do is that. Theater training is that, acting is that, stand up is that. Every single thing I do is my body trying to get some shit out of me in some way or another. You know, a lot of times it becomes very positive, luckily, but in my private life, and in the times where I'm by myself, those are the times that really matter. Those are the times when I have no one else but me to be with. And those are the times that I figure out that is my least favorite person. That's right, computer. I don't know if you guys heard the alarm that came through my computer. Anyway, I am going to now transition into my guest. I'm changing up the format on this bad boy a little bit because this was kind of hard to do. I was trying to interview two people and trying to put them into smaller things. But I like to talk, if you haven't noticed. I also like to talk to people about who they are and what they're thinking and blah, 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 blah. And these two people on the podcast today, well, Katrina Davis, you already know. But my good friend Michelle Buteau is my guest today. And Michelle Buteau and I have known each other for a really long time. It's been pretty amazing watching her blow up over the last couple of years, you know, and see her get her due, as dumb as that sounds to say. Um, she's always been a hard worker. You know what I mean? She's always been at it. So the stuff that's been happening to her is not a surprise, but it's just there's so much in the way sometimes. At least that's how I think about myself. It's another thing I'm trying to let go of. But Michelle Buteau and I talked a couple of months ago. That's another thing that kind of gets in my way about doing this podcast. Sometimes I interview someone and I want to get it out there as fast as possible because I don't want anything to happen, because every other day something insane is happening that makes 2 days ago irrelevant. It's insane the pace at which things are happening. Um, Now, Michelle Buteau and I talked before Biden was the president. We talked before the insurrection. And that's kind of cute to me. This is only a couple of months ago. It's before it was 2021. She was in Atlanta to shoot the season of First Wives Club on BET Plus, and we got to talk when she had just arrived in Atlanta. Now, by this time, I don't think the election had happened. Again, I'm having a hard time remembering everything that happens because so much fucking happens. So I'm kind of trying to embrace the nostalgia of the fact that so much is fucking happening, that how people feel last week is dramatically different than this week. We're all going through the ridiculous mood change of a regime falling apart. This feels like the American empire is over. And you know, I don't know. There's still a lot to talk about. We're still, you know, it's only January. So we'll see what the heck happens. But in the meantime, me and Michelle talked when she was in Atlanta, and it was a great talk. And I hope you enjoy it. And I hope you remember what the hell it was that was happening when we talked. Bye, y'all. Kind of the premise of this whole thing, this podcast, is to just check in with people, you know.
Mm,
It's a very unique time that we're living in, you know, for lack of a better term. You know, let me just say the hackiest shit that came to my head. But it's like,
true.
because there's so much anger, you know, speaking to those comments, because I feel like even internet comments, the way that the internet works, the way that the news works these days, there's so much anger, a lot of anger, a lot of outrage,
Yeah,
and it's exhausting,
yeah,
but it's galvanizing people that, you know, but
yeah.
I don't think people are actually just asking each other like how they're doing. Like, how is it that you are just dealing with stuff? Like, what is it that you are finding that you need to do for yourself?
Well, I'm in go mode right now. So, this year has been obviously crazy for a lot of different reasons. And I really want to go out and protest. I really want to like do all this stuff, but I'm like, I have to be healthy. I cannot get sick and I have to take care of these children. There's
Yeah.
no way that I'm even gonna catch a cold and take a risk and or be hooked up in a ventilator and just see nobody for weeks and weeks and weeks. I don't wanna have to quarantine in a room without seeing their faces and see what they ate and what work they're doing, and so I'm just like, "This is go mode," and usually, like, go mode happens, like, when you're pulling an overnight or when you're shooting something, you're like, "That was a crazy 16 hours." No, this is a crazy 16 months, like, this is this is a an emotional Vietnam War where, you have to put on a happy face and, be the best person you can for not only your family, but yourself, right? So, it's
But
pretty
that's very demanding though.
Yeah,
You're basically saying that you're just like you're on, like you're just a go, go, go.
yes.
So how are you stopping? Are you stopping enough, Michelle?
No,
Okay.
no,
What
no.
do you need to stop? What do you need to kind of just rest and relax?
You know, that's a great question, and, Imma need the second round of vaccines and see what happens. True. That's what Imma need. Imma need kids to go to a daycare so they can start socializing with other kids, so
Mhm.
that way I can feel some sense of normalcy when I food shop, when they come home, that they're doing their thing and I'm doing my thing. I didn't realize how much I depended on comedy,
Mhm. As
just
an outlet?
yeah. So, the good thing is that I'm very lucky that I shot my special right before, the lockdown happened, and I wrote the book just in time for it to, like, come out a year later,
Mhm.
and so it's so great to be releasing content into the wild during this crazy fucking time because people actually have the time to enjoy it, but also
Yes.
there's that thing where it's just like, "Shit, I know we're talking about BLM and a lot of other stuff, and people are dying left, right, and center, but do y'all wanna buy a book? Like, that feels fucking crazy too, but we need distraction, I guess."
But that's the thing though, Michelle. I mean, that's what I'm saying. A lot of people are going, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" As if like you have to be in a go mode all the time. And that's true. This is go time for the country, for the globe.
Yeah.
However, it just isn't, you have to rest also. You have to take some time off to be able to go. You have to take care of yourself. You have to have the
You have to
energy.
charge your batteries. Yeah, and it's funny, just being in Atlanta right now, memorizing lines feels crazy. So I'm like, "My brain, what is that?" Like, every time rehearsing a scene, it feels like I'm in a panic room. I'm like, "I need a clue," and, like, I don't even know what. But working really makes me feel rested. I'm sleeping in till 8 a.m.
Yeah, because you're alone there, aren't you?
I'm alone. People are like, "What can I get for you?" I'm like, "For me? You mean I don't have to make 3 meals and 2 snacks and change 18 to 24 diapers right now? What?" So, yeah, work is, like, not bad. It's pretty good.
Well, you're talking about you're not actually talking about work. You're talking about the fact that you have because you're in a place where you are going to work, you were just suddenly inside alone, not having to do all those things.
Yes,
You're
yes,
talking about having a break is what you're actually talking about.
yes. My break is me working.
And that's what I'm kind of getting at though. Like, what is it? So you would you say you don't really like give yourself much time to relax and the rest?
Um,
And
I
I understand what you're saying about the realities of like your career and parenting,
yes.
but still.
I mean, I really thrive in the chaos and I thrive in the planning. And I used to plan like a lot of day dates and date nights and weekend getaways. Um, I used to do a lot of spa days for myself. And,
Mm,
we live on a very nice island. It's so beautiful and calm. And the Long Island Sound is our backyard. And so
mm.
um, there's a lot of things in my house that make me feel grounded. So it isn't like I have to go to a corner of the house and be like, "This is my me time." Like, I really love watching these kids just
Mm.
Dance around while I'm having my rosé on ice in a big cup because I and watching my dog chase a squirrel, and so, yeah, man, that's my happy place, being home in the chaos, really. I love it.
So, what is it that you need in those places for it to get that, I guess, happy chaos? You're talking about the kids and the dogs.
Yeah,
So you said that there's a lot of things that keep you grounded. What are some of the what are some of these other things? Like if you were going to advise, say, give advice and someone's like, I just really need to feel grounded at
right,
home.
right.
What would you recommend that they do?
I mean, I think it really depends on their personality, right? Some people need to be somewhere quiet and they like to read. I'm like, "That's cool. I don't know that." Um, some people need to be by water and they don't even know it. Some people just need to touch a damn rock. It's healing. Sit outside for 5 minutes and not even look at people, or worry about what you have to do. Also, put your phone away. Nothing has happened that you have missed in the last 10 minutes. I mean, it's crazy.
Are those the things you do for yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and drink.
I can't drink anymore. It's unfortunate, but
Oh, no, what happened?
oh, I started taking a lot of different depression medications, so it's the
Oh,
same.
that's
It's
bad.
doing the same stuff,
Yeah.
ish. I guess depends on who you ask. Um, when we met, I it's so funny. Like so many things from the past have become blurred. I guess in my brain, it's hard to like differentiate fact from fiction.
Mhm,
Memory from mythology.
mhm,
But didn't you work like night shifts at NBC or something when I met you? You were like, I
mhm.
swear that either you said or someone told me you were like an editor or a producer of something that was happening at NBC at night. And
Yes.
you were up all night doing that stuff.
Mhm.
And so that's why you were always tired. I was like, why is she always sleeping? And they're like, she works nights.
I mean, when you're tired too, it's like you just can't. People are like, "Guys, she's such a bitch." I'm like, "I guess so, but I know what I like and don't like, and it's just like, let's move on." But I was editing at WNBC at 30 Rock. My shift was midnight to 9:30, so I do like 2 or 3 shows, usually at the Village Lantern. Blip. And then go into NBC. I would edit. I used to also field produce, but I was like really tired of just going out in the field and asking people in the Bronx what they think of the house fire. I'm just like, next. It was easy work. It was really good money. News is a good business because there's always news. I would.
So you were a journalist,
I
basically.
was a journalist. I went to school for journalism, but
Oh,
did I tell you this? I told my professor because he was asking us what in a TV production class, he was asking us what we wanted to do, and I'm like, "I want to be a journalist, entertainment reporting," because that was just popping, like, ET was out and Mary Hart was doing her thing. I'm like, "That's me. That's what I wanna do." And
huh.
he was like, "Well, I mean, just so you know, you're too fat to be on TV." And I was like, "What? Oh, okay." And I didn't question him. I just was like, taught to respect my elders, don't question authority, be polite,
Can
and
I ask what race this gentleman was?
Cuban.
And he was what age?
Oh gosh, I wanna say probably in his 50s or his 60s. He's probably dead now because 'cause I'd be like, "Watch Netflix, bitch," but he's probably dead. Um,
So he's Cuban. Was he white though? Was he a white Cuban or
he
was he?
was a white Cuban, absolutely, but to
Mm,
his point, there was nobody like me on TV. I didn't see myself in anybody.
right. I mean, it's just a very that's the way it was, but he just dropped that on you and you took it as a fact.
Yeah, and that's really fucked up now that I think about it because I'm just like, how dare you tell anyone that they can't do something? That is crazy, especially in the position of power that he is to shape young minds. I mean, it was sort of like my laces out moment in Pet Detective where I'm just like, "Mm." But I believed him and I was like, well, I'll just work in TV production. I'll be behind the
Mm.
because that's really fun. I get to be a part of the creative process and just fell into news because they were hiring. I worked at Fox News in college editing and field producing, and I was the diversity hire there, and then I moved to New York City, and I was the diversity hire in New York City. They needed a woman, they needed someone that wasn't white, and so when you could fill all the boxes, it's like, hello, you don't even drug test. So, yeah,
It's so strange because you were told in a way, no one is gonna want you,
yeah,
and then everybody wanted you because they didn't have anyone like you.
yeah.
So it's kind of like a weird, that's you
So,
were literally being told the opposite stuff by the
yeah,
same group of people.
that's why I tell people, "Hold on, like, just keep going," because, the thing that people didn't get about you or that you don't even like about yourself is the thing that will be most celebrated later in life. So it's okay.
I'm gonna ask a question that I can't believe I have never asked before, and I'm actually really, embarrassed to ask this question.
Oh my.
Where where were you when you heard about this pandemic?
Um,
Do you remember what you were doing, what was going on in your life when
yeah,
you
I got
started hearing about this getting very and you started taking it seriously, and you were like, "Wait a minute, something's going on here."
I was shooting a travel show. Yeah, I was shooting a travel show. I had just wrapped an episode in Mississippi with Tig Notaro, and then went straight to New Orleans and shot an episode with Sashir Zameda, and that was March 11th. And we were like, well, we
Mm.
take a month off or some shit to see what this whole Corona thing's about. But I remember being in the airport, and I'm just like, I usually see Asian people wear masks. I never see, like, big black dudes or skinny white girls wear masks. I said, "This is interesting." And the antibacterial, gel had sold out, um,
Mhm.
in every store in the airport. I was like, "That's weird." And, yeah, that it was wild. Like, even my special that I taped
Mhm.
was on March 1st in, New York City, at the it was formerly the Roxy, it's now Sony Hall. And I remember, like, there were some people in the audience that were going through chemo, and they were like, "Hey, can you put us where someone is not sick? Because we are, just we're going through chemo, we can't, be compromised." Or
Oh, man, yeah.
walking out here dipping and doing it. So I landed on March 11th. March 12th, I was supposed to go into the office because I was doing a parenting show with Quibi, rest in power.
It was around for a hot Quibi.
Exactly. And so, I didn't even get a bite. And so,
Woof.
uh,
That scares the crap out of me because I have headphones on, so I think I'm
oh,
having a stroke.
I'm so sorry.
No, no, it's all
That
good.
was just
But I
that,
kn
and she just asked me if I want to go for a walk.
oh, tell her that you say tell her, "Hold on, I gotta get my freedom off of that shelf.
You know what's funny?
Hold
She
on."
loves to take long walks in parks. It's absolutely
Of course.
100% true.
What's wrong with that?
I'm gonna say in an hour or so. That okay? It's really fun being in the same building with her, but I shouldn't say that.
Well, nobody knows where you
Okay,
are, so your address is not being, broadcast.
I saw that documentary, Don't Fuck with Cats.
Don't know it.
Oh, it's on Netflix. It's great because I mean, it's not great because someone ends up dying, but it's this dude that is messing around with cats and just sort of like abusing them on the internet, and he's posting it to Facebook, and people are just wildly offended as they should be, and they just start figuring out who this guy is and where he lives based off of like this picture.
Mm. Yeah, I posted a picture that a friend, probably someone you know, texted me personally, and I like posted it on Instagram, and I didn't think anything of it. And then he's like, "Oh, hey man, can you take that picture down because some people can tell like where I live based on the blah blah blah." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Wow.
And I didn't even think about it because I couldn't tell where he lives, you know.
Right.
But to his point, he personally texted me a picture. It wasn't for the internet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Regardless, regardless, I wanted to ask though, like, that's a thing. Speaking of walks in the parks, like, how are you? Like, what do you do to pass the time?
That's a good question. Um, I have been very lucky and unusually busy. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I had to hunker down after taking care of these kids and figure out how to promote my special, and that is interviews and um, whether it's on air or like just a telephone call. So it's sort of like mom going back to work, but from home. And then I ended up flying to England for a job for 6 weeks.
Oh, goodness.
So yeah, and so I ended up bringing the kids with me and my nanny because
Oh, that's right. I think you were in England last time I talked to you.
yeah,
Jeezy,
yeah.
what's it been like traveling with, especially with a family right now?
I thought it'd be a great idea, and it was. And
Oh.
it was, but there is this moment where you're like, "Am I doing the right thing?" And this is the thing about COVID, like, you have to put yourself out there and do something, but then what if something happens? So, you're never right and you're never wrong. It's just a, "What the fuck? Let's just be careful." And so, it really felt like, The Hunger Games, where I was just like, "Get the kid, grab the thing. Oh, no. Is that is that dirt? Did they just sneeze?" Because you have your quarantine and you know how people wash their hands and how they live, but now you're just out in the proper wild, and then you're jet lagged, and then you have, like, jet lag twins, and so,
Oof.
again, they make the day go by fast and slow.
I bet.
Thank you, Lord. And yeah, but it was great for them because just being in another country, even though it's just like literally another kitchen that you have to clean and cook in all day long, but the schools are open in England, but the restaurants are closed. And that is such an interesting experience because there is this sense of normalcy, even though yes, there's a pandemic and it's like terrible that we can't do whatever that we want to do, but the parents are happy because the kids are happy because they still get to go to school.
Mm.
And the playgrounds were popping, and even the stuff that the kids play with are just so much more thoughtful than the playground in the Bronx or Brooklyn looks like a prison community center with like a rusted bench. And here they have all this like cute shit where they can figure out how to fly and lift themselves. It's bananas. So, you know, it was great for me to have the company, but it was like just amazing for them just to be socialized. So
Mm.
yeah, I mean, and then work there, and then I came back here and am promoting the book, Survival of the Thickest, Plus Size Essays in a Small-Minded World, LOL,
Wait,
and
what's the name of that book again?
Survival of the Thickest,
Oh, okay.
and headed to Atlanta. So I feel like to shoot First Wives Club. So I feel like my experience isn't like everybody else's, but I have talked to a lot of friends who actually are giving themselves time to finish that script. To somebody who started growing butterflies in their house, I said, "You better get it, okay?"
Well, Michelle, I was thinking like it's funny because you keep saying things that I guess what I'm trying to pinpoint are the things that you are saying that you think are universal,
Yeah.
but are really possibly specific to you. For instance, you were just talking about being in England and you're like, and it's a whole different kitchen you got to clean and you got to cook. And I'm like, no, you don't. You don't have to clean or cook. You could hire someone to do those things, but you like to clean and to cook. I ran into you randomly once in Canada,
Yeah.
and then you were cooking for a buttload of people that night. You're like, oh yeah, it was like, oh yeah, Michelle's going to cook for 20 people. It's like, why would she do that
Uh,
voluntarily?
I do love to cook, and filming and knowing that all these amazing people are around and we're just going to restaurants and wasting our money, and I just have like a hankering to just do some oxtails because that's who she is.
So you like to cook?
I love to cook. Yeah.
Why?
It's just like stand up. It's an expression.
Go on, extrapolate,
I mean,
expand.
well, it's like you've done this, like you do a special, right? You do a comedy special and you put all these pieces together and you figure out how you want it to look and sound and then you present it and you're like, look, and it's no different than putting together a Thanksgiving dinner and keeping everybody in mind and putting it on the table and be like, enjoy. So for stand-ups, we wanna make the audience happy. Like, we feel good when they feel good, and that's the same with cooking. It's, it's you're showing your love.
I just want to again. You said we like you spoke for me when you said I for stand-ups we feel good when they feel good. You know that ain't true for me, but like that's what I'm saying. Watch your assumptions. No, I'm joking. No, you are because you are a joyful person. I guess I
That's who
you
she
know what you say.
Yeah, that's who she is.
This third person shit is fucking me up. I gotta say, but like, no, I guess I'm just trying to, I'm just thinking about like, I've been very nostalgic. That's a big thing that I've kind of, I guess, come to in this pandemic. I've been thinking a lot about, well, a lot of different things. Reprioritizing, thinking about the shit that I have yet to process
Mhm,
that I thought I did.
mhm.
So there's a lot of stuff that's been coming up that surprises me, and I'm wondering what has been coming up for you that surprises you. And it doesn't have to be something that's like negative or that's like hard or painful. I'm just anything.
Um, yeah, I mean, I'm really curious what's coming up for you.
Well, a big thing for me is like I just it's a lot of different things, but I'm thinking about like my inability to have created any kind of routine for real, for real. I'm a very disorganized person, a very disordered person. And now I have learned it's because I have a lot of disorders. And these are things that people have been telling me my whole life, but I didn't necessarily treat these things with any kind of seriousness
Mhm.
until I find myself in a situation where there is no escape from myself. How about that? It's like I can't really distract myself as much as I once was. And I see a lot of things that have been in my way for a really long time. But at the same time, I am finding things that are helpful to me, that bring me joy, that I recognize like I just need to do that. Like playing the piano. Something as simple as like planned, and I won't let myself a lot of the time just sit here and play the piano because I feel like I need to be doing something.
Yeah,
But I got to be doing something as if playing the piano isn't, as if giving myself time to just feel okay isn't productive.
yeah.
And so I'm wondering if you're surprised or finding new things that help you feel okay, or like new hobbies, new interests, new anything new that's been going in your head that you're like, man, I should have been on this like 10 years ago.
Um, you know, no,
Anything you want to try that you're
no,
like, I should have tried that been 10 years ago.
no. For
Okay. How
me,
about anything you want to stop? Hey, I
well,
should have stopped that like 10 years ago.
I mean, for me, it's like the only way I can get through this is keeping my eye on the prize. And I'm like, I don't like to live in regret at all because that shit will eat me up. I kind of did that in my 20s, and I was also like a jealous person. If I dated somebody, I'm just like all that shit. And I have a lot of energy, and if I don't use it productively, then I'm just gonna be like a balding introvert. And so
Mm.
when I'm happy, my world is happy. And so I like, and we already talked about this. Like I like to do for people, but like of course I miss doing for myself. Doing for myself really was just like getting a pedicure and my shoulders rubbed because these titties are heavy. And so, like, for me right now, because I've worked so hard towards motherhood, this feels like the ultimate, well, here you go, girl. Can you really do it? And so, when you talk about what have you found out about yourself, what you like and don't like, what do you do? This quarantine, this year has been so many highs and lows where the first 2 weeks, I'm like, "2 weeks? What are we gonna do for 2 weeks?" You know? And then you find out it's more, and then I'm just sort of in pajamas all day, just, trying to figure it out. Like, that was the first phase of just, like, I'm in pajamas all the time. And then I was like, "I guess I'll never wear these clothes." And then I tried to put on the clothes, but then I was like, I gained weight from just being at home and eating all the time. I'm just like, "Well, we gotta go for walks." And so it was like all these realizations, and they're growing so fast. I'm just like, "Well, I guess I just don't read to you. We could paint too, right?" And they can dance and they like music, and we would have like a couple of edibles, nothing too crazy. Play with the kids, play Prince records.
Oh, I thought you were saying that the kids would have a couple of edibles. I was like, what?
Yeah,
Okay.
imagine a real Basquiat when he's like, when Otis is taking some edibles. Just kidding. No, we gotta do what we gotta do here for the damn day.
You were saying no.
Yeah, I mean, it's been phases. It hasn't been like this is what I've been doing this whole time. It's like, yeah,
Well, how about this? Because I keep thinking a lot about like, because this has gone on for so long that I think that there's no going back to exactly how things were before.
yeah,
It's going to be a long time before we find some kind of normal. I think as a culture, as a society, I think people are itching for everything to be the way it was so badly.
yeah,
That's why this has gone on for so goddamn long
yeah,
because people just can't let go.
yeah,
But I keep thinking a lot about like what won't, be the same again and like what I think is here to stay.
yeah,
Any ideas about what you think is here to stay, especially for yourself in terms of like
yeah.
quote unquote, let's just call the mythical when this is over, I'll just say that mythological sentence. What kinds of things do you think that you will continue to do or will still be around?
Yeah, I mean, that's so prolific and so smart, because it's absolutely true. People are really waiting for us to get back to, like, let's go to H&M for, like, a Black Friday sale. That's just not it, bitch. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, and I, look at pictures sometimes, like, on this day last year,
Mm.
like, what a difference, and I'll show show 'em, husband, I'll be like, "Oh, man, I wish we would've stayed later at that brunch and had more to drink. We ran home." And he's like, "Well, we can make our own cocktails here." And he's, like, always trying to be positive, which I appreciate 'cause I'm like, "Make those cocktails." But I'm like, I'm mourning a death. The way we, like, know life, that's over. And
Yes.
if you don't mourn something, then you're never gonna get over it properly, and it's gonna fester until it fucking blows up in your fucking face. And so, what I think will absolutely still happen is gatherings. Like, people need to get married, people need to be buried, people need to go out and eat. Like, we just have to figure out how we can all be around each other, but not like, fucking infect each other.
Well, depending on how this vaccine works and how long it takes for, everyone to get it or whatever the heck where this disease, is not a factor anymore. I think that especially live stuff, gatherings, like you said, theater, stand up, music, like music was never popular, but just people where they can be together in a damn space and it's not like if I breathe in here I might die. It's going to be something else, something else. And what about for you? Like what are you hoping for yourself, I guess, in 2021?
Oh man. Um, I really want to go outside of my house and not have the anxiety of, um, will I get sick and die? You know? I
Mhm.
I have like a lockjaw, and I'm a little claustrophobic, and so when I put a mask on, it like I have to like move my jaw around a lot. It feels like, it's confined. It's really weird.
Mm, mm.
Right. Like I'm having an MRI. So I'm just really looking forward to not overthinking, like, did they wash their hands? Are they coming towards me? Because I was like hosting this thing and nobody was supposed to touch anybody. And one of the contestants of the show I was hosting came up and gave me a sweaty fucking hug, cheek to cheek, and I was like, "Back the fuck up." And
Whoa.
like, "No," and he's like, "Oh, sorry," and he was just like pure male bravado, and I'm like and entitlement, I'm like, "Get away." And everybody was
Mm,
quiet, and we had to stop down, and I cried in the corner because I felt so violated, and
mm.
too, because I'm just like, I used to hug strangers all the time, and now it's just not the same. And I'm like, the producer came over. She's like, just so you know, we've all been tested a bunch. You know that. I'm like, I know that, but
That
he
doesn't matter.
doesn't matter. And I'm like, the only thing I could tell her was I haven't hugged my parents since February, so he doesn't get to hug me. It's the only thing I can
Mm.
say. So I went out. I did all the things I was supposed to do. I ended it. I went back to my room and I cried. The next day, I had to do voiceover, and one of the producers wanted to check in and was like, "How are you doing?" This, that, and the other. And I'm like, "Not good at all. Like, not good even a little bit." And he was like, "Well, is there something you could have done differently?" I'm like, "No, no, no. That is very victim blaming right now." And that's how the Me Too movement is just and that's why the Me Too movement is happening. Because I got paid to host a thing and there's no teleprompter, so I am memorizing a bunch of stuff. I
Mm.
don't have time to be my own bodyguard. I'm following rules and he should too. And so I'm obviously thankful that that moment has happened in my 40s where I can speak up for myself and not be like, "Oh no, am I like the annoying black woman on set that's being aggressive?" And but
Ugh.
like so many fucking layers to this shit. And so I'm so glad that now at 43 I can stand in my truth and be like, "That was not good. That is unprofessional. I am professional. Get it together." So
See, but that's a big thing too. It's like you were told to your face you are too fat to be on television.
I know.
And then here you are on television
Yeah.
having to still
Defend.
defend your autonomy.
It's exhausting.
And I did want to ask you, you said that you haven't, hugged your parents since February. And I was curious about like how your extended family has been, how y'all have been keeping in touch, like how y'all have been making making sure each other's okay and checking in with each other. How's that been going?
I mean, I try to FaceTime as much as possible. It's just really hard, and it's just not the same. And it really sucks because my parents helped us so much sort of uh, have these children, you know? Um, at my fourth miscarriage, I told my mom, I'm like, I'm exhausted. I can't do this anymore. We're going to refinance the house and get a surrogate. And she was
Wait
crying.
a minute. I'm sorry, Michelle. I'm sorry to interrupt. I did not know you had four miscarriages.
Four miscarriages in 5 years.
Oof. Okay.
Yeah.
And you were like, all right, surrogate.
Yeah, yeah, because we had some beautiful embryos banked, and we worked really hard for them, and that was sort of like our last ditch effort to having a family. And it's so funny when I tell people I had a surrogate, they're like, "Well, aren't you rich?" And it's like, "No, bitch, I'm not." And it's not about that. It's about you think it's for rich people. People think it's for rich people because the government has just made it so unaffordable. Um,
Ha.
but, my mom said, "I was waiting for this phone call. Please stop doing this to your body. Your father and I are gonna reach into our savings and help you guys with the surrogate."
Oh.
And so tears and tears and tears, and then she was like, "Will the babies look like you?" And I'm like, "I can't." Like, I cannot explain science to you right now. I'm happy and, like, also over it. So, yeah. Why was I talking about this? I don't even remember what we were.
Well, we were talking about I was talking about like how you're keeping in touch with family, and this
Oh.
sounds like this is a story about people coming together.
It
you
is,
know.
it is, and because my dad will be 81 in February, like,
Mm.
he's always said, I hope I'm around to meet my grandchildren, I hope I'm around." And now they're here, but now COVID's here,
He
so he
can't.
can't be around to hang with his grandchildren, and, it fucking sucks, I'm the only child, they're my everything, and, I really wanna go down, I really wanna see them. It feels near impossible. The kids will be 2, and they're not gonna keep a mask on their face, and, as far as I know, if you're 2 and up, you have to wear a mask on a flight. even though I'm refreshing that CDC website like I'm stalking an ex on Facebook. I'm just like, "What is it now, CDC?" And, um, I will be tested right away. Should I write that
the ex that you're
write it down
stalking.
or something? I'm like, "I gotta write it down and put it
Oh, that's like in a normal conversation, that's what I would constantly be saying to you is write that down, write that down, write that down. But right now, I'm getting some gold from my shit. So I'm just letting it happen.
Yeah, it's bananas, but, that is the that's the most frustrating thing, the most hurtful, frustrating thing, and the other most frustrating thing too is people that are COVID deniers and, think wearing a mask is an infringement on their rights or whatever the fuck.
I love that you can't even talk about it that much. Like just yeah, yeah. It is very frustrating. It is. I mean, like I have my littlest sister, before all this happened, married a Marine and then ended up moving to Japan. It wasn't what they thought was going to happen, but that's what happens when you're in the military. They're just like, this is where you're going. But do I have a choice? This is the military. And so they've been there this entire time.
Wow.
And she had a baby, while she was there. I'm just like, I want to meet this baby. I want to meet my little nephew. I want my children to meet my little nephew,
Yeah.
and it's like, and my other little sister had a baby that I can't
Wow.
see, so it's kind of like, and I didn't get to, it sounds like you, because my wife is similar, had a lot of cousins that you probably knew well, and like played with and stuff like that. And so I would like that for my
Yeah.
children, like I'm glad that they have each other, but to have like cousins
Yeah.
that are the same age,
Yeah, it's special. It's special.
and I just kind of want that. I want that. I didn't know how important family was to me
Yeah,
until
you have your
this whole thing. Yeah, until I had my own, because I didn't have the best childhood, Michelle. You know a little bit about this,
yeah.
but like I don't want to go into it too much because I'm interviewing you. But I will in the introduction to you. So that's that's going to be no. This has been a really great talk, and I'm just wondering if there's anything else you want to say, like a last piece of advice or something you want to ask me, or a last plug.
I wanna ask you something.
God damn it. That was the one I was hoping you were gonna pick, but go ahead.
This is so, like, self-centered, but what did you think of me when you first met me? First met me, first saw me do comedy, I don't know how it came to be.
Wow, why are you asking that?
Just curious.
You feeling a little nostalgic too?
I am. It's been so long. We were in a group, called Shades of Black was it Shades of
Mhm.
Black
Mhm.
that Elon James White started?
Four Shades, yeah, yeah.
Yes, we were all
Well, it's a lot of different things back then. Brooklyn Comedy Company was the thing that Elon started,
yes.
and then I came into the thing and sort of became a little bit of his collaborator, and so Four Shades and Shades of Black and the Black Comedy Experiment were a lot of different things that we were, because Elon and I, as was true with yourself, as was true with Jordan Carlos, as was true with a lot of different comedians of color we knew in New York, we weren't at the level where we were getting a lot of different stage experience, but we wanted the experience. But we also kind of we were internety. I don't know. It was like we all kind of wanted to be our own thing, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to say that in not the worst, insulting whatever became before us.
Yeah.
Because I think, I
Nerds
think that was
renegades.
what you say.
If nerds were renegades but also did stand up, that would be us.
Yeah, because I think that I think that ideologically, I understand what we stood for. It's the same ideas that I applied to New Negroes,
Mhm.
or that Victor applied to Awkward Comedy Show, or all these different things like Two Dope Queens and Black Lady Sketch Show. All these different people who are saying like, "Hey, we want to do things our own way." You know what I mean? We want to do our own version of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think in the past, especially at that age, I was in the place of putting down things that looking back, it's more that I kind of resent that I was being constantly compared to or told to be like certain things.
Right.
And, I don't know that I actually have a problem with most of those things or any of those things. It's more that I just wanted to not be told how to be. And I think that's probably one of the first things I thought about you when I saw you. Honestly, the first set I saw you do I remember seeing you do was at the comic strip when we both did that lottery edition night.
Oh God.
I want to say this is like 2003 or 2004-ish
Mhm.
that this happened. Jesus Lord. And
Mhm.
I had some friends with me, and they nicknamed you Booty Shaker because you were kind of doing this thing. Some jokes, especially, it was almost kind of like your save. If you thought a joke didn't go as well, is that you would kind of turn around, give a little twerk. But
Lord.
it was also a very low energy twerk. Like it was I got to go to work after this twerk. That's what it was. And that's what was funny to me about it, is that it was so subtle that you're like, I don't even want to try for you people. But I loved your confidence up there,
Remember.
and that you just your comfort, I guess, that your comfort in your own skin. You own the stage. You had a presence right away, which is something that I always work on. You know what I mean? And you also had obviously a perspective, because I was kind of like, and we had a lot of similar-ish, we've always been interested in similar-ish things, I think, too. So it's kind of like I was struck and I was happy that I saw you. And then I want to say it was like months or a year again before I actually met you. And I was kind of intimidated to talk to you too. And I think in the first time. So yeah, I mean, I liked you.
So
And
funny.
what do you say?
I said, "That's so funny." Me intimidating? I have freckles and big tits. What's intimidating about that?
You just said it all. No, it's really it's really that kind of like, you had a I don't suffer fools kind of energy about you, which now I understand is you being exhausted. So, and I was like, oh, now I'm a fool though. So I'm a straight fool, Is she gonna suffer me? So that's kind of what I thought, I guess.
That's so funny that we're sort of wrapping it up like that because in the beginning, that's exactly what I said about Zainab.
That was Michelle Buteau, everybody. Turns out we talked in December. That's right. We talked in December of 2020. So this is just shy of 2 months ago. But it was after the election, but before the insurrection. Oh, what a cute, nostalgic time. Ugh, what a different world we lived in back then when Biden had just won the election. Oh my goodness. I think back then in December, it was an innocent time where, Trump was trying to contest the election in many different states at once, but with no proof of all of this fraud. And what a different time. But he was ramping up. People were fired up. People were showing up to all of these different places in Georgia and Pennsylvania. So, maybe that was a little clue of what was to come. What was to come. Anyway, Michelle Buteau and I have known each other for a really long time, man. And I wasn't calling you man. I was calling my memory man. Right there. We've known each other for a really long time, man. And my memory's like, I know. You're telling me. That's not what my memory sounds like. I hope. Does your memory have a voice? If your memory has a voice, put your hands in the air. Okay. I can't see them, but I can feel it. Yeah, we've known each other for a really long time, and both of us are so different, and I keep thinking about all these people I've known for such a long time, and how little I actually have told most people about who I am, about myself. I talk a lot about my ideas, but I'm not really forthcoming about the bad stuff, mainly because I don't think anyone really has the time or the patience or the emotional fortitude to stand up to my, I don't know, stories, things that I'm realizing that like they're kind of bad, but at the same time, um, it's what happened. But I have never really put that in my body. If that makes any sense. I understand a lot of different things up here, but not down here. You're listening to me, so you can't see what I'm doing. I usually say, "Oh, I understand it," and then I point to my forehead, my brain, my skull. "Oh, I understand it, but I don't understand it," and then I point to my heart. I give that to you. That's one of my favorite ones to do. When someone's like, "Do you get what I mean?" It's like, "Oh, I understand it, but I don't understand it." You probably can hear the difference in how I say it in my voice. That's fucking acting. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. Guys, right now I'm going to talk to my good friend Katrina Davis. You may know her if you've listened to the podcast before, or if you follow comedy around Los Angeles, or the country, or the world. Who knows who's watching who these days? Am I right? Katrina is a quote unquote young comic. I say young in quotation marks because young does not necessarily mean young in age. It just means someone who has less experience in comedy than I. However, the world that a young comic has to navigate these days, even pre pandemic, is something unlike I had to navigate. Plus, I'm not exactly sure the kinds of people that are drawn to comedy anymore. I know the kinds of people who were drawn to comedy when I started, but Katrina is a very different person than I am, obviously. But because she's interesting, because she has a lot of ideas, it gives me a reason to not talk about me. Am I right, guys? Here's Katrina Davis with Kitty Corner. I can't even say that without laughing. This is not really here she is. It is January 23rd, 2021. Um, so much keeps happening all of the time, and I always get backed up with this, or I have gotten backed up with this. Number one, because so much keeps happening, and I feel like anything that's happening is like irrelevant a day later. And then also, so much is happening that shit's crazy, and I feel crazy, and I feel insane because I am learning in so many ways how truly fucked up I am. That's the gentlest way to say it. But
Ooh,
yes,
that's relatable.
yes, that's the gentlest way to say it. But I think that it's something that a lot of people are going through, regardless. And that's why I like talking to you, because then I don't have to talk about myself. But what you said, it's so relatable.
Yeah,
Why that be?
like mad self-reflection and realizing the depths of how like messed up you are. Like I feel like last year there were flaws that I knew existed, but just like over the past couple months I've realized to like the depths of which they exist, and it was like, oh wow, that is like I'm almost hilariously fucked up, but it's fine.
Well, what is your
And it
definition of fucked up as opposed?
not even I was about to say not even fucked up, because I feel like I'm like functioning, but it's like my functioning is due to being so I also mad related to this episode for some of like not the exact same things that I'm about to say, but just in the vein of being this kind of person. But I realized that a lot of the pandemic things that were bothering a lot of people that weren't bothering me, and wondering why they weren't bothering me as bad, and wondering why a lot of my friends were having issues with isolation that I wasn't, that I kept being like, oh, I'm an only child, this, that, or the other. And more recently, I've realized that it's also that I'm like insanely guarded and have never really felt a part of anything anyway. It's like, I realized that a lot of,
That's
I
that deep
realized-
shit. I didn't know that you was gonna go to it. That deep shit.
so stupid.
Go ahead, Katrina. I'm sorry. I didn't know you were gonna preach.
Oh no.
I should
It's fine.
have brought you on as the Reverend Dr. Katrina Davis. My bad.
No, it's just like I'm not missing a certain level of comfort that other people are, because I never really felt that at home or connected to these places to begin with, so I'm not missing them on the same level. Like, I miss people and I miss friends, but I was never really letting those things in enough for them to really hurt when they're taken away anyway. So it's like, I can take it or leave it. Like, it'll be fun when I can do certain things again that I can't right now, but I was already on such a survival mode that a lot of stuff happened, and I was like, okay, I was already like emotionally prepared to be this cut off anyway. What's everyone freaking out about? And then like at the end of last year, I was like, oh shit, like that's not necessarily that good.
Would you say, is it safe to say, because this is kind of the statement that I have found for myself, is that I've become, it's comfortable for me to be uncomfortable. Like, uncomfortable is my normal. So, like,
Yes.
alone, isolated, uncomfortable is where I live. So when this started, I was kind of like, oh, all right, well, this is where I live. But then
Yeah.
now I've gotten to the place where I'm like, why have I been living in that place? You know, why this whole time? I can't live in that. That's not a life. I
Well,
haven't been
even
living.
like stuff that you and Michelle were talking about with family and stuff like that, like I am not really close to any of my family. And I've just kind of always accepted that as like, and I moved when I was young. Like, we're just not close because I was never around any of them, and I just won't be close to them, and that's fine.
You just accept that as a fact.
Yeah. And certain things, like either this year or watching people miss their immediate family or hearing people talk about people in their family that they're close to, and I'm like, that's so foreign to me. But also, like you said, not necessarily accepting that as a fact and maybe thinking that I could. But that's what made me realize. I think the other thing was the idea of getting closer to the family members that I'm not already close to makes me feel so raw and uncomfortable that, like, I'm way more comfortable not feeling any of that than potentially connecting to
and that's what you're talking about when you're saying
people.
guarded. Like you've kept people at a distance so that way you don't.
Yeah, and didn't realize
up.
that I really was, because like I have friends, like you guys are cool, I love you guys, but like also if one of my like like I'm constantly ready for the rug to be pulled out from under me. Like I will never get got. Like the closest person to me could abandon me tomorrow, and I'd be like, all right, well, you know, people do stuff like that.
Yeah. No, but that's a big thing that happens, and I, I do want to say that what you're saying sounds very black as well. Like I feel like no, because it is this kind of thing, depending on how you grew up,
Yeah.
But like this kind of thing is that like you gotta keep going no matter what the hell happens to you.
That's why I was a lot of things Michelle was saying. I was sitting in my apartment being like, yeah. She was saying some like very matter of fact things that you were questioning her about as far as working or stopping and stuff. And it was just like, yeah, just go.
No, I know. And it's interesting too, because, and she has that self-awareness about it, but like, that's, that's fine, I guess, in a sort of a weird way, because it's working for her. So it's like, if it starts to not work, then, hopefully she'll figure something else out. But I assume that this is one of the things that she figured out because something else wasn't working.
Yep.
And that's the big thing.
And it just like feels good. But I do like that you were bringing up the idea of having to stop at some point so that you can keep going. Like you have to be able to get that momentum from somewhere.
And this actually relates to the family thing too, Katrina, because it's because Michelle, as long as I've known her, and I don't know if I was that clear about it in that. I mean, I did say her family's around all the time. They were so damn supportive. I can't even tell you how many times they were at shows, and it wasn't just her, her mom. There was like aunties and cousins, and like people would, every time she had a big show, 15, 20 people would show up for her, and I was like, what? And these are your family members?
That's insane.
No, that's foreign to me.
Yeah,
but that's
weird.
normal to her. But that's not me going like that's, and what's normal to me is weird to her, right? It's all relative.
Yeah.
But the
Right.
thing about it is, and this is the thing, listening back to that interview I did with her too, that I was like, I've been thinking about the power of assumptions. We all live in our own world. We all live in our own bodies. And so it's a natural thing to assume that someone might see something the same way that you do, especially if you don't know that the thing that you hold as a universal definitely is not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so this has always been a giant obsession of mine, assumed universals. This is before I was a damn comic. This is probably why I became a comic and a writer just like why are we being told that these are the things that matter? And it's just always been my, I don't know, cynicism or suspicion or whatever the hell, don't get got kind of thing, even though I knew I was a bit of a punk because I wasn't strong, but I was witty and I was smart. So I knew that I could like outwit people or outdance them in some kind of word kind of way.
Right.
So some of these questions that when I heard myself asking these questions again to Michelle, I was hearing my own assumptions. I was hearing my own assumptions of like, but isn't that hard? Like how many times I kept saying like,
yes,
but don't
I heard you too.
Get worn out? Because everything that she's saying that she does that keeps her energetic, I'm like, the idea of it tires me.
I could feel you trying to force her into what you feel a break would be.
Exactly. And I was like, whoa, and when I was just saying that, I didn't notice it, but later I'm like, whoa, I was making some big, but it's revealing to me. And that's also the thing that we're talking about here in general, like that which is being revealed to you. So this idea of being fucked up or messed up. And I guess I'm curious because you seem to be very close with your mother. And if not, you talk about her a lot,
I'm super close with my mom, my grandma, and then like me and my dad got closer when I was older. But that's like pretty much.
What's older?
When I was like after college, in college-ish.
Oh, so like your 20s.
But he was always around. Yeah, he was always around. But like we weren't like cool until I got a little bit older, because we're pretty much the same person.
Aloof.
No, we just but like he's a great dad. We just did not get along, and I'm like a very stubborn, strong-willed person.
And so is he.
Yes. Oh my God, insane.
Interesting. It's funny because this dude Michael Sardo, who was first TV show I ever did. He was the creator of it. It was called Fairly Legal on USA. Characters Welcome. That was their slogan back then. I think it's like something else now. Story matters.
Is it funny people? No.
Flamby dambies. I don't know. Everyone's got to redefine themselves. Am I right? Anyway,
yes.
He came to some random show at the Improv one night because the dude who produced it was a friend of his. Just and so he came in and I hadn't seen him in years. And he had no idea that I had children, and so he saw me do my set, and then afterwards, we talked, and he was like, "Whoa, you've got." He just was. He met me when I was young. It was like at least over a decade ago. I was in my 20s, so he was, seeing the kind of person I had become, and he was also talking about what he thought was different about my stand-up as opposed to everybody else. But he also, because he said it's clear that I am also curious about like the existential questions, that it's not just pointing things out, but it's also trying to unpack them and process them, release them. That's the whole point to me, right? And then he said this thing about parenting. He said, the child that reminds you the most of yourself is the one you will have the most difficulty with. He's like, the child that reminds you the most of you, you'll have the most difficulty with, and you will have a hard time.
Can you tell that yet? Because they're so little.
Yeah, of course. And he's like, you'll have a hard time not blaming them. It's going to really turn it back on you. But I was already kind of talking about that stuff back then because I already did not have a dad. So to be one was already like, I'm in uncharted territory. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm the first guy that went to that planet where the avatars live, or the Na'vi. My bad. Sorry, sci-fi nerds. The name of the
you're gonna get
the meat suit they put on the avatar, but the species is the Na'vi. No disrespect to Zoa Saldana.
You just saved us at least 50 comments.
Yes,
job.
exactly. But I'm just saying, I'm the first person that came to that planet before I even knew there was unobtainium. I don't know why that's on my mind. It's the dumbest metaphor ever. Point is that I was talking about that, and so he told me that. He dropped that bomb on me, and I was like, what? And definitely it is becoming true. It is the hardest. That's why parenting is hard, because it makes you see yourself. That really is the thing that I think people are mostly afraid of.
What are the things that you see already? Like actions, or like how, like...
It's really, it really is like he's got a certain kind of pickiness and a stubbornness and an anger. Like he likes to push buttons. He's a liar, like his dad. Which Rhiannon was like, she looked it up, and apparently there's a lot of developmental psychologists who say that like a toddler, because they don't know what lying is. You know, they're too young to actually know what that is.
They're trying to like figure out what.
Well, if they lie to you, it means that they know that there's a response that they want, as opposed to the one that they don't, which is the sign of a genius or a psychopath. Time will tell, I said, time will tell.
Yes!
Everybody knows that, hey, the majority of CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, psychopaths. Exactly. Psychopaths, all of them.
Come back to this podcast in 5 years when we figure out which one Baron's child is.
Exactly. That's why I'm going to put a musical instrument in his hand and be like, strum that out. I'm
so excited.
What the heck were we talking about? Yeah, so he does remind me of something, but also that's the other thing, is that it's hard to pinpoint, because it's the things that you don't really see about yourself.
But it's the thing that you're like, why are you doing this? Where would you get this from?
Yes.
And will be like, you. That's where it came from.
Maybe. And that's the other thing, is that like it's being able to parse out what is because every child has the normal things, or every person has the normal things that they do, but how they go about doing them is who they are. You know, how we put together the puzzle of how things work and make decisions based on that is who we are. Everything is trial and error. So he learns by seeing how we deal with things, and then he plays with the same rules. But then he's seeing me do things that I don't know I'm doing, or seeing Rhiannon do things that she doesn't know she's doing.
You're on autopilot,
because we're just living our lives.
Yep.
That's why people go like, oh, I'm becoming my mother, because they don't know that...
Kids are the mirror that you never wanted.
No. Some people want it. And that's the value of parenting, is the mirror.
Okay.
Because look, the mirror is hard. To see oneself is not easy, but that's what I was
getting at.
I don't understand why we need everything to emotionally at all times be easy or nothing.
Yep.
Why?
I think that is even like the mental reflex of avoiding discomfort, and it takes a certain like level of experience or intelligence or whatever to be able to have the foresight to realize that discomfort is there for a reason and is actually good for you, and to sit in it as opposed to avoiding it, which is what I feel most people do with a lot of things, especially like a lot of things that we're dealing with as a country right now is a lot of people not wanting to sit in a discomfort, whether it be discomfort of missing out on things, discomfort of things that you've done in the past, discomfort of opinions that you thought to be universal truths, whatever that discomfort is. Instead of seeing any good in it, they just think, oh, I'm uncomfortable, so it must be bad. And
yes, exactly. Because it's
do
in the
whatever
way.
Steps are necessary to
Feeling bad is in the way of being productive.
Of continuing, yep.
And so that's the opposite of what our economy stands on. That's why something as hard as people can't go to work, everyone can't go to work for one day, like crashes the entire thing.
Well, that's like I saw a screenshot of a text that I really liked on Twitter, and it was like, this is the most American thing I've ever seen. And it was a girl writing her coworker, should I be working during the coup? She just like didn't. She was like, can Can I sign off? What are we doing? You let me know. Like,
Wow.
just
That's
like
hilarious.
the layers of that, like the continuation of work, the idea that thing, like the idea of like you waiting for permission to continue work, to continue the gears that are right now having sticks thrown in them.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like also waiting for permission from groupthink, even at that point, to be like, so what are we doing, guys? Like, shit is on fire.
Well, and that's part of
I
like
love it.
because we're all in touch with each other, which is part of the thing.
Uh-huh.
Which is like we most people we have to live on the internet right now. And
Mhm.
the irony about always seeing things on the screen is that it creates this distance. There's a part of it that just thinks it's not real or it's a show.
Mhm. It's a separate, because it's hard to, wrap your mind around certain things, I guess.
But that's also, I think, one of the problems or one of the biggest phenomena of our era. Phenomenons. I don't even know what the plural is everything is on a screen. Everything is seen as a show. Everything has to be packaged. Everything has to be, put into a digestible thing, whether it be through the medium of a screen or a post or a book or so it's like we are so used to I think the average person probably when they think of history, when they think of these historical figures in American history, for instance, they're probably thinking of whoever played it in a movie. They're probably thinking when they think of Pearl Harbor, they're like, oh yeah, and then Ben Affleck was there. Like they just like we have so many representations of shit that happened that the difference between what happened and what we think it might have looked like. Because even this thing that happened at the Capitol, even this insurrection, it's like, this is what it must have been like in other countries that have coups. This is something that the Americans, we just think this is not the kind of thing that happens here. Well, some people think this is not the kind of thing that happens here, even though it's happened here a lot in a lot of different places, but it gets suppressed, it gets buried because it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. It's going to get in the way of being productive.
And I do feel like that's one not so bad thing about everything being so connected in social media and all that is people trying to, but that's the thing. Everything is so saturated and, overwhelming that even things that have some merit end up sounding like a cliche that makes you want to roll your eyes. But it's like a lot of people were saying things about, like, if you've ever wondered about some time in history and what you would have done if you were there, you could be in the middle of yours right now and being like, like you've looked at all of these things and seen all of these things in history and felt like you were just coasting through yours and stuff is happening and you're online. Like you're just on Twitter watching like everyone, like you know what I mean? We will all have just been wherever we were at the moment, which is fine because some things it's like, what else would you be doing? But
the thing about it is, I think about this too, because I try to find out about history. And one of the best ways to find out about history for real, as opposed to reading a history book, is the art from that time. A history book will tell you the things that happened, but the art will tell you what the fuck people had to do about it, or how they felt about it, or what it did to them. So sometimes when I think about Twitter, I think about like it used to be the newspaper in and of itself. We made these rules of journalism that now journalism is supposed to be this thing of integrity. But before that, it was just salaciousness. This idea of the richest person owning the newspaper and controlling everything they say is like 100 years old. We made a bunch of rules and philosophies to try to counteract it, but it just got torn back to this other thing because it's still about rich people wanting to control what people know. That didn't go away. So when I think about like Twitter, I think about like, I always try to think, well, what's the equivalent in some other place? Is hieroglyphics the Twitter of ancient Egypt? Like some of it is about the worship and some of it was just about how Nefertiti was kind of mean, like that some of it's just like, You know, I saw Nefertiti. She didn't look like shit today. Like some of that's what it is, and it's just like boom, boom, beep, boom, beep. That's my sound of poses. Anyway, I just turned it into a bit for no reason. Katrina, here's the thing. My mom's in the hospital right now. She is having an appendectomy.
Appendectomy.
Appendectomy. And I just found out about it last night. You know, luckily my sister lives with my mother, and she was throwing up for like 2 days straight. And then she decided to go to the hospital, and luckily we got it, and it looks like it's going to be a simple surgery.
Before
blah, blah,
it
blah.
bursts or whatever. Good.
Yes, but it brought up 100 million fucking things, Katrina. First, I thought, well, my mom already works at a hospital. My mom is an essential worker, you know. She has coworkers who work in a closed space with her who, you know, they're all wearing masks, who got COVID. She did not get COVID. She took it seriously because she's an old black woman who has COPD, which is like a kind of a, you know, respiratory thing. And I probably yelled at her a little bit and sent her masks and was like, Mom.
I was about to say, I did the same thing.
Yeah, I was like, Mom, start taking this seriously right now.
Yelling at So funny.
I did. I called up my family when this shit started to spread. And I was like, okay, what have you heard about this? Like my sister in New York was just like, oh, isn't it that thing? I'm like, no, get everything. And so like before it became before it exploded, she was prepared.
Right.
Because I yelled at her because I was like, no, it is not a joke. Anyway, so when I heard my mom was in the hospital, I got immediately scared and then worried. And then my sister was like, it's appendicitis. You know, she went to the doctor. First of all, my mom is already the kind of person who just wouldn't go to the doctor in the first place. That's why she just let this happen for 2 days.
Anyway, yes.
She's like, I'll walk it off. I'll drink some ginger ale.
Walk off insane nausea.
Exactly. And then she went, and luckily, you know, if she wouldn't have went, maybe waited even another day, the thing would have ruptured.
Right.
And it brings up, one, how many people have already died? No, two, how many people are dying because they cannot get treatment because of COVID? They can't get treatment for shit that has nothing to do with COVID.
Yep. Or at max capacity or whatever.
Exactly. 3, and 4.
Well, that's what they tried to tell
mom.
us about before. That's what I feel like. Oh, because I was talking to someone about this the other day, where it's just like not like you shouldn't try, but just in terms of like the level of frustration that some people are feeling just being at home, being like, why isn't anyone listening? It's like no one's ever listened to the scientists. There's always been someone trying to tell. There was someone that told them that the Challenger wasn't ready. They failed a bunch of tests, but they were trying to make a deadline. No one ever listens to the Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park. That is also a part of history.
Oh, yes. Coronavirus. Ah, yes. There's different things. Looks like a crown. Corona. Ah, wait.
Like nobody that is also mutation. A part of history is everyone being like, nah, fuck that nerd. Like no one ever listens to that person. So I'm not like, oh, I've been sitting back waiting or whatever, but it's like we've been talking about we need to take XYZ seriously because we don't want to get at max capacity or whatever it was. And we slowed it down and it took us a whole year to get there, but now we're at max capacity. And it's like, maybe it was inevitable. Whatever, but a lot of people feel like they're just sitting home with their box of I told you so's, but it's like that's what people are. You can't control 10 million people. There's too many people for you to think that like your posts are going to get everyone to individually use their free will in a way that helps the masses. Well, and even that I would say is kind of not a part, but it's like, because I feel like a lot of the wrong people have passed away, but that is a part of evolution. Like if you're a person that just gave 0 fucks and was like, I'm going tubing, and then you died from COVID, it's like that to me is a part of you rolling those dice. It's like there's too many people. Some people need to Why? I'm sorry.
No. I just love that tubing was the first thing you thought of.
I did. I miss tubing. Like, if I was just super not care about anything, I would have a huge beach party and go tubing on a lake somewhere. That's what I would do.
Wow. Okay. I don't think I've ever been tubing, so that's why.
Ah, it's great. It's great upper body. So much core. Oh my gosh, it's the best. You've never been tubing? Oh, it's so much
No,
fun.
because I don't have fun.
I sound Florida as hell right now, but
Oh, yeah,
sound off on this episode if you like tubing.
Yes, please leave a comment at Katrina Davis. What's your Twitter handle? I
silly.
forget.
Oh man,
Well, look,
so silly.
by the time we're done with this, my mom will have, hopefully,
Yeah.
the surgery will be over. But
Yay.
before I was talking about like how many things happen, so I want to contextualize a couple of things. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Hank Aaron just died. Larry King just died.
I saw that.
Biden is now officially the president.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Chappelle's got the COVID.
I saw that too.
and possibly a lot of motherfuckers that were with him, including Elon Musk was with him, and Grimes
I
and
mean,
Joe Rogan.
I'd imagine, but also like they're all gonna Magic Johnson that shit anyway.
They're
Like
all gonna
I'm
Magic Johnson that shit.
I
Katrina,
am
we don't
least
we,
worried.
We do not know still. We barely know what the fuck this thing does. The one thing that we did know is that it can kill people, but people who survive it, there's still a chance of other things coming, and we're only starting to just find out about this. And now there's this new mutation that they're saying is 30% deadlier,
Sounds hot.
more contagious, and
Because
affects
that's
younger
what
people
viruses
more.
do. Like that's why we have flu A and B. That's why they changed it. It's like, yeah, they're trying to survive too. And they're smaller and better at it.
Yeah, because all the
Sometimes.
kids were just kind of like, fuck a corona. I don't care about the Rona. And now the corona got bigger, like pump some iron and pimp the crown to the side. And it's like, what? What is coming for the youngers?
Were toddlers not afraid of me? I see you just like doing inverted push-ups.
It's not even it's like teenagers and 20-somethings.
Oh, okay.
Although toddlers too. That's the other thing. We're still at the beginning of knowing any of this shit. Point is,
and it sucks because we're at the beginning of knowing, and no one trusts, not no one, but a lot of people are so mistrusting of information as it comes out. So we don't even have the license to learn the
But
way
that's
I
the
feel like we
thing.
need to. Do you know what I mean?
well, that's the biggest thing. We've done so much. That was the point of I thought our talk about newspapers and Twitter. There's so much information
Mm-hmm.
and so much misinformation, saturation. We, as a country, aren't that
You
good
just out sharpened that, but
at saturation. We,
oh,
as a country, cannot. I can't even do it. Like I'm trying
no,
to like.
but I
I can't even do Al Sharpton. I was trying to find it. It's like it's somewhere in like in the nose. He's got a little bit of a, but at the same time, it's.
your face
gotta
like you
make
were
it
trying to
straight.
like.
I'm trying to do it. That doesn't sound like it at all.
Yeah, your face while you're trying to learn a voice. Great. It looks similar.
You gotta.
I don't know
It's
if you-
called mask work, Katrina. Right.
I don't know if you've ever seen
I'm
a
trying.
rooster crow for the first time, like as a baby, but it looks a little bit like that because like they don't know what's gonna come out, and then they do, and then they just make
Oh,
a
that's
noise.
funny.
It's
You're like,
adorable.
Who was that? I like.
Yeah.
it.
They look around like, who did that? I'm like, yeah, that was wild.
Was it me?
But
The
no,
power. The sun came up.
but I feel like even what Michelle was saying about like cooking and things like that,
Mhm.
and the overwhelm, like the way it can be so easily overwhelmed, everything that's happening,
Mm-hmm.
and dealing with that in your own ways and finding ways to do that. Because it was like, while all this stuff is happening, I've just been roller skating.
You've been
Like-
doing a lot of roller skating?
I've been roller skating a lot, like every chance I get. And I just so happened to be roller skating on Insurrection Day. So I was like just at a basketball court by myself at like 10:30 in the morning or whatever it was, and my phone rang and it was my mom, and she was like, Trina, and just like said my name really serious, so I immediately knew something happened. And so I like sat down for a second and she told me, and I was like, wow, that's crazy, and just like hung up and sat there for a second like, wow.
Yeah.
And just like got up and started skating again, because it's like, what else am I supposed to do? Like, so
Well,
it's
but
like I've
that's
just
the
been roller
thing.
skating through a lot of this stuff.
Roller skating through a lot of this stuff. And what has roller skating brought you, Katrina?
So much joy. It's like just the calm of rolling. Like a lot of our friends, a lot of our common friends have actually been roller skating a lot and like tearing it up. And a lot of us like want to do tricks and stuff like that. And it's like, I just want to go fast and not fall. Like I just go in circles and I listen to good music and I like dance, like roller dance a little bit, but that's it. Like I just want to roller skate.
I
That's
just
it.
want to go fast and not fall.
I just want to
That's
go
the
fast.
fucking mantra of Katrina Davis's life, for
That-
real.
That is kind of. I just want to go fast and not fall. That is so shit. Oh, man.
And I believe that is the conclusion of an episode. I just wanted to say this is the end with the most freaking words that I could muster up. Everybody, I am the opposite of going fast and not falling. I like to go slow and stumble the entire way there. Am I right? No, go fast and not fall. That's kind of a good mantra, okay? Go fast and not fall. Take that with you, all right? And I hope you understand it and you understand it. That's the other variation I didn't do before. You know, I said, oh, I understand it, but I don't understand it. But you can also understand it in both places. Oh, I get it, and I get it. You see, you see that celebration that just came out? Oh, I understand it, and I understand it. Oh, I know it, and I know it. Anyway, those are a bunch of different variations that I hope you can take into your life. Guys, go fast. Don't fall. Thank you for listening to Self Quar. And now,
Stony Island Audio.